Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle, brought to you by Believe. I'm JR, once again with Zack. In this episode, we're going to preview the tight end position in the Big Ten for you by ranking the top 20 tight ends and then overall previewing the position with guys who to look for and which teams have the most awesome duos of tight ends that could be utilized well this season in 2025. We will get into it all, but first, make sure you hit that like button. Doesn't cost you a penny, just a little finger muscle, just a tap on the phone or on the mouse or the pad or whatever it is, right? Also, type out a comment on YouTube to let us know what you think. If you're on podcast, leave us a 5-star review. Don't leave us less than a 5-star review. If you have something bad about the show that you want to let us know about, I promise I will see an email a whole lot quicker than I will see a review. I probably won't see a review at all, so it won't do much. But if you have something about the show that you don't like or you want to change, please do email me at jrsrankings@gmail.com. jrsrankings@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Big Ten Huddle. Let's get on with the show. All right, welcome in back to the Big Ten Huddle. If you are here with us, continuing over from the YouTube episode, we appreciate you continuing to be with us. If you are here on the podcast, we are going to get into our tight end rankings and previews for the Big Ten heading into the 2025 season. We're going to go through each of our tight end rankings 1 through 20 in the Big Ten in 2025, give you our order, kind of some thoughts with why we had guys in certain places. And Zach, I think this might be the ranking that you and I have some of the most differences in. We're pretty much the same in the top 4. One difference there, but once you get outside of really the top 4, we have a number of differences. I'm excited to talk about it.
Can I just be completely transparent here?
Yes.
This kind of felt like throwing darts on a dartboard at some point. I think once you got past the top 4, no, not the top 4, but like maybe the top like 8 to 10, it was like, all right, who's next? I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Well, and a lot of these guys experience injuries, right? And then you also have like some guys are receiving types, some guys are blocking types, some guys do a little bit of both. And it's like, I'm going to be honest, I watch a lot of Big Ten football. I do not know enough about Big Ten football to know how good of a blocker the Northwestern second string tight end is. Sorry. I'll do my scouting report next offseason if you guys really want to hear about it. But like, so if you want to come at me and say like, man, this guy's way too good of a blocker, he should be top 10, I will concede. At this point. So, Dave's already not taking a liking. Says too many stinking badges. Jr. Yeah, Dave, I thought you might not appreciate. But hey, I got your Minnesota above the 2 of them. So that's worth for something, right, Dave? All right. And yeah, Trojan fight. I was gonna bring this up. It says Lake McCree got shut down during spring camp due to undisclosed injury. Yeah, it doesn't sound like Evan Stewart, where it's like he's for sure not gonna play. I haven't heard that yet, but there definitely is some possible issue there. Honestly, once you got outside of the top 3, it was really hard to pick. So I just went with somebody who is a veteran who has played a lot of football, and they're not ruling out for the season yet. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll go through my rankings a little bit, and then Zach, we'll get your top 20. From 1 to 20, I have Max Klare, the former Purdue tight end who is now at Ohio State. He's number 1. Athleticism, receiving ability. He needs to work on his blocking some, but overall, what he was able to do at Purdue last year with just a terrible offense and everything around him was impressive, and I think that he's going to flourish this year at Ohio State. Jack Velling had a tough year last year, only 1 touchdown catch, but he still had over 400 yards. He's the second most returning receiving yards of any tight end coming back to the Big Ten this season. So I still think he deserves some credit there. He had 8 receiving touchdowns at Oregon State 2 years ago. I still think he has a lot in his bag there. Just did not get the red zone opportunities that maybe he did in the past. Kenyon Sadiq was a good option behind Terrence Ferguson at Oregon last year. I believe he is a huge breakout candidate for the Oregon Ducks, and I think they're going to give him a lot of targets and stuff. They have another tight end who's also very good, who I'll get to here soon, Jamari Johnson, and I think that's one of the reasons why Kenyon Sadiq I don't think will be number 2 for me this season, but I would not be surprised if it happened. Talked about Lake McCree. He has the injury. We'll see what happens, but I have him number 4. Addison Estranja, I'm probably saying that wrong. Have him at number 5. Iowa tight end, veteran, going to be a good option for him this year. So I'm excited to see what he can do as kind of more of a receiving guy. I had the Penn State tight ends, Luke Reynolds and Khalil Dinkins, back to back. I think to start the season, I was just talking to the Penn State guy about this. I think Dinkins, not Dunkins, Khalil Dinkins is going to be more of the option to begin the year because I think Luke Reynolds is still going to be kind of gaining his experience, getting into things. But I think by the end of the year, Luke Reynolds will be the number 1 tight end there. I think Dinkins, he's a veteran. He was backup for Tyler Warren last year. I think he's going to be a good option there. But at the same time, I'm also not going to put 3 Penn State tight ends in the top 20 because I don't think they're going to use their tight ends the same way this season as they did last year because I think they have a better wide receiver core. You're not going to see Luke Reynolds doing everything that Tyler Warren did. That's why I didn't have him top 5. But you are going to see him utilized probably throughout the season and probably gain some more production there at the end. Hudson Habermel, I believe, from UCLA. Really excited about him this season. He is 6'7", 250 pounds. He has a huge catch radius. His ability to make incredible impact red zone plays is really good for them. He has 5 touchdowns in his career during his first 2 seasons. He missed the entire season last year with an ACL tear. And again, this is just one of the harder things with all these injuries and stuff, right? To try and get through these. Dorian Fleming, transfer from Georgia State to Maryland, have him at number 9. Excited to see what he can do. Cole Rusk coming off the injury for Illinois. He's going to be a good option for them. I do wonder if the injury is going to hold him back, so I do have him a little bit lower than I normally would, but I would not be surprised at all if he is in a, just outside of the top 5 range or something like that. Jamari Johnson of Oregon was a good option last year. I think he's going to be a good option for him this year. Won't be the main guy like Kenyon Sadiq, but he'll be good for him. Number 12, Quentin Moore at Washington. Tore I don't think it was an ACL last year, but he got injured and was out the season last year. I think he only played 1 game, and they're very excited about him. Had a huge touchdown against Oregon, I think it was, in the Pac-12 championship game in 2023. So excited for him to be kind of a breakout candidate. And then another guy that's been a breakout candidate for so long now, but he just hasn't had the opportunity because he had Colston Loveland in front of him. Number 13, Marlon Klein. I have him at 13 because I don't know what Hogan Hansen is going to do. I thought about putting Hogan Hansen top 20, but we'll see. Like he had some interesting plays for him last year. I would not be surprised at all, though, if this is more of a Hogan Hansen situation than a Marlon Klein. I think it'll be Marlon Klein, but I'm just saying Hogan Hansen has a good opportunity this season for Michigan as well. Number 14, Zach Ortworth, the backup there at Iowa, going to give some good time. He's another receiving guy. Jameson Greer's Minnesota, 5 touchdowns in his career. Gonna have some good opportunities there this season. Holden Staes at Indiana, went from Notre Dame to Tennessee, was hurt most of, if not all of last year, I believe. He's gonna be coming back. We'll see what he can do. The Wisconsin guys, Lance Mason, Missouri State transfer, Tucker Ashcraft. I don't know which one's gonna be the main guy there. I think it might be kind of like a Penn State situation where like Lance Mason's kind of like Luke Reynolds and he kind of comes on at the end of the year, but I'm very hesitant to say guys from the FCS are just going to come up to the Big Ten and do really well right away, especially since he missed spring camp because of the what was his name, Tanner
Arkin, or no, not Tanner Arkin.
No,
that's Illinois.
The transfer that transferred out. He went to Houston anyway.
I'm blanking.
Yeah, I'll remember it here.
Was it Holden?
No, that wasn't Tanner Holden. That was a receiver last season. Number 19, Will Kazmarek, Ohio State. Impressive that he missed time last year. More of a blocking guy, but still did some good things in the receiving end. And then Luke Lindenmeyer, Nebraska. Probably could have him higher, but again, he's more of a blocking guy, and it's hard to grade these blocking guys. But I want to make sure I put Luke Lindenmeyer in there because I do think he is going to be a good option and definitely a good blocker for Nebraska this season. Zach, the floor is yours for your top 20.
Yeah. So Max Klare won. I do have Sadiq over Velling. I think the potential for Sadiq is a lot higher just with his, I think his athleticism, his strength, his speed combination. And quite honestly, I was a little disappointed with Velling last year. And I know he had good stats, he had some good statistics, but I expected more from him. So maybe that reverses the trend. But I have Sadiq over Velling. Like you, I have McCree at 4 if he's healthy. This is where I'm probably a little I've jumped the shark a little bit, but number 5, Marlon Klein, I think his potential is really, really high. And I think if he is one of the main options for Underwood as a receiving threat, I think you could really see his production go up. Luke Reynolds, very high on him. I agree with you though. I think Khalil Dinkins will probably take a number of snaps in the beginning, but I just don't think you're going to keep Reynolds off the field. And I think he will emerge as the number 1 tight end threat for the Nittany Lions. Cole Rusk, Tanner Arkin is the returning tight end, but there's a lot of hype with Cole Rusk transferring in from Murray State. I think he might take over that position for Illinois, be the number 1 guy there. Ostrenga from Iowa. Iowa produces good tight ends. So I've got him at 8. Dorian Fleming comes in from Georgia State. The team that beat Vanderbilt, that Georgia State, that team. I'm pretty sure Dorian Fleming had something to do with that.
Is Dorian Fleming? Is he, trash talking the entire Big Ten like Diego Pavia is?
No, I think that Dorian Fleming should tweet out, "We beat you guys. Shut
Yeah,
up."
he should.
Anyway, Dorian Fleming, who is playing for Maryland, I think he's going to have a huge part in that offense. Dinkins at 10, I think he, again, really good player, solid player for the Nittany Lions. And Jamari Johnson, Oregon, I think Oregon and Penn State in particular are going to have some potent 2 tight end sets, I think. I think Michigan is going to get up there too. Nebraska as well. And Ohio State, I have Kazmarek a little higher. I have him at 12. I think as a blocker, he's very, very reliable. I think he's shown that he can be a pass catching threat as well. 13, I have a little bit of a wrinkle with Henrik Harburg. I don't know if he's actually a tight end. I think he's more of a gadget guy, but I just think he is dynamic with the ball in his hands. And so I have him at 13. Obviously, Lindemeyer is an option that you could have there as well. But I just think Harburg's going to be a utility player that they line up everywhere, and tight end is going to be the main position he's at. Lance Mason at Wisconsin at 14, Gears at 15 for Minnesota, Holden Staes at 16. I have Colin Weber from Rutgers at 17. I think he's gonna be. It's gonna be between him, I think, and Kenny Fletcher, who's the starter there. Phil Steele seems to think that Fletcher is going to be the guy there, but Weber comes in from Charlotte. Was productive at Charlotte. I think he's going to overtake the job ultimately. Max Bredesen, I have at 18 from Michigan. Decker DeGraff, Washington player, had a really good true freshman year for Washington. I have him at 19. And then I think Jelani Thurman, who's the number 3 guy for Ohio State, but I think he could really raise some eyebrows with his receiving ability. Especially with the way their offense is going to be, I think it's going to be pretty pass heavy. I think he will get targets and he will end up getting more catches and yards than people expect.
Love it. Yeah, I didn't put Thurman in mind just because I feel like there's gonna be so many targets that have to go around. Maybe they'll throw the ball more this season with Brian Hartline as the offensive coordinator there, and they'll get more opportunities. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot to feed 3 tight ends when you have those 3 wide receivers who are really good too. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes this season. Bobby Mack says, does Max Klare have a legit chance to break the tight end single season receiving record of 670-ish yards? I think that's an Ohio State record he's talking about. Yes, he does. I mean, a lot of this will come down to Jeremiah Smith, right? Like everybody's talking about Carnell Tate being the guy if they shut down Jeremiah Smith. I think Max Klare could be that guy too, especially for a young quarterback who, could get nervous early and start, dumping the ball off to somebody. Max Klare has more athleticism than I think some people give him credit for, and he could get the ball out in space. He did it with Purdue multiple times last year. He get the ball out in space and really do some crazy things with the ball and running them in the open field too. So Trojan Fight says is Klare freshman. Don't see him on the stats from last year. No, he was a Purdue transfer, so he played for Purdue last year. Yeah, it's CKLARE. I don't know if that's impacting if you can find his stats or not.
I think you can make the case that Max Klare is the best tight end at Ohio State. What, in 30 years?
Yeah.
Like Ricky Dudley?
Yeah. I think Ricky Dudley was the last third round pick Ohio State had. I think I heard that somewhere. I don't know.
He was a first round. Ricky Dudley.
Yeah. Well, Brenton, nobody from Purdue tore up Indiana last year. 66-0. Nobody tore him up. And that's just how good Indiana was last year. So, yeah. Let's see. There was another comment. Oh, yeah. Philip, I totally agree. Too many targets for OSU for Klare to get enough touches. I mean, it's just going to depend on how the targets go, right? Like, somebody's going to get the majority. I mean, Jeremiah Smith's going to get the majority of the targets. We'll see what happens with who the second leading target guy is. Could be Klare because it's a young quarterback. Could be Tate. Could be Brandon Ennis. We'll see. It's gonna be interesting. All right, Zach. Should we have a conversation about Marlon Klein since we're pretty different on him here?
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah. So, what do you think about my Hogan Hansen point? So, because that's my big thing is I feel like Hogan Hansen really showed himself at times last season when Colston Loveland was out. It was perplexing to me that Hogan Hansen was the guy and not Marlon Klein. I would have figured Marlon Klein would get more of those opportunities. He does have a lot of athleticism potential, but at some point, I just need to see it, right? I've talked about the tight end room of Michigan for years now, and we saw it with Colston Loveland. We saw it with Hogan Hansen. Marlon Klein has done some things here and there, but it's never been anything like jaw-dropping. And that's kind of what we got sold to us from, Michigan media and stuff is watch out for this guy. He's going to, do something amazing. Now, maybe he just hasn't had the opportunity to yet. Maybe he'll get it this season, but it was telling to me when Hogan Hansen kind of became the guy at times last year. And so that's kind of my reservation with Klein.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell because Hogan Hansen had 7 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown, but Marlon Klein had 14 catches for 116. And then you had Colston Loveland, who he didn't play, he was off and on. He was struggling with injury. I think you have a valid point, but I think this is my theory, and I could be completely wrong. I think my theory is that was less to do with Marlon Klein and more to do with Colston Loveland, and this how they rotated and positioned their tight end room. Now I could be wrong. And maybe Hansen takes a step forward and he's the guy. But I think at least up to this point, the way that Michigan has talked about Klein, at least the way he's flashed, I tend to give him the benefit of the doubt.
And maybe this is wrong of me to hold this against Klein. I have flashbacks of the way they talked about what was his name, the backup quarterback last year at Michigan.
Davis.
Davis Warren was a starter.
Orgy.
Alex Orgy, and then also I'm blanking on the other guy's name too. The guy with the shoulder. He came in against Washington. Jack Tuttle. Jack Tuttle. It was every conversation with them, and maybe it was just quarterback position. So maybe it's not fair for me to hold it against Marlon Klein in this situation. But that's also my thing is I got to see it at this point now. I got to see it actually happen. With Hogan Hansen, I have seen it somewhat happen. I left him off the list because I guess I still am kind of believing in the Marlon Klein thing. But, you asked me if you really put your actual thoughts on this paper and didn't believe any of the hype and media and stuff, I'd probably put Hogan Hansen at number 13 instead of Marlon Klein, honestly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's
Philip
fair.
says need EA Sports tight end rankings to compare yours. I mean, we're way better, Philip. Did you not see the rankings in the ratings of the team overall?
Yeah, they stink.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying there, Philip.
Yeah.
We do have some Indiana fans talking with us. Zach, any thoughts on Holden Staes? We both have him at 16. We can talk about Jameson Greer Gears there too, Minnesota at number 15. We both have him there. But what's your thoughts on Holden Staes?
I mean, I think Stays and Gears, I think those two really could be getting into that upper tier as the season goes on. I think they're there for me because I think the potential of other guys might outshine them.
Hmm.
But I also think you can make an argument that Gears and Stays could work their way into the top 10.
Yeah. I mean, we saw it with Stays in 2023 at Notre Dame a little bit, right? 15
Mhm.
receptions, 176 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like he did it for Notre Dame a little bit in 2023. But then he transfers to Tennessee and he just doesn't get all that many opportunities. He does catch 15 balls again, but only 131 yards and only 1 touchdown. And he was not, I mean, he never had more than 3 targets in a game. So he had many more targets at Notre Dame. And I don't know, like for me, I feel like 15, 16 are kind of those safe spots where like you see the opportunity and you see the potential, but you also don't want to rank them super high. So it's it's like you're putting them there because you think there's something possible, but you also don't
Mhm.
want to like, plant your flag in the ground and be like, this guy's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, is it possible that Tennessee stinks at utilizing their talent and that Indiana could be better? Yeah, I think so.
That's very possible.
Sorry,
But
I just feel like I feel like ever since Pavia went listen, I think Diego Pavia is actually a really good player, so that's my caveat. But I feel like every time ever since he's popped off, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just SEC can just go kick rocks. I'm just done. Goodness.
kick rocks, Diego Pavia. Jameson Gears, number 15, we have on here, the Minnesota tight end. He has had 5 touchdown catches in his career. I'm excited to see what Gears can do this season. He's kind of had some modest yardage, but overall he has been a pretty reliable target for whoever's been the quarterback there. I am interested to see what happens with Drake Lindsey. Like I do think this Minnesota offense is going to be very, very run heavy. You look at PJ Fleck and his pass. You
Yeah.
look at Drake Lindsey being the guy there. I think it only makes sense that it's going to be run heavy. Not necessarily because Drake Lindsey isn't good, but he's just young, right? And so having a
Yep.
good, efficient running game helps a young quarterback. The other argument is Drake Lindsey, like Gears could be your leading receiver this season if Drake Lindsey just locks onto him and looks for him to be the guy that he throws to
Mhm.
more often than not. A good third down guy, a good red zone guy for him. So we'll see what happens, but I think Gears has some potential here to be higher as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look, he's a senior. He I had a decent season last year, 9 starts, 290 yards. And
28
he's
catches, 290 yards, 4 touchdowns. Yeah, that was a
yeah,
good season last year.
yeah, and Drake Lindsay is going to look to remember Brosmer had Daniel Jackson last year. Like he had
Hmm.
a big play guy. I think people are excited about Javon Tracy, obviously Lamecca Brockington and Jalen Smith, Logan Loya, like all those guys, there's potential there. But as a freshman, you want a good safety valve. Obviously, Darius Taylor is going to be one of them, but Jameson Gears is probably going to be the other one.
Does Minnesota play Rutgers this year? Because he had 9 targets, 8 catches for 73 yards against Rutgers. Maybe that's his magic team that he plays well
Yep.
against.
They play September 27th.
All right, there we go. Okay, move Gears up. They play Rutgers. He's gonna have a good game. Move him
Yep.
up. Sorry, Rutgers fans. I'm not insulting you. I just am more making a joke than anything. All right. Anybody else, Zach, that you think could be higher. Maybe anybody that you didn't rank that you think could possibly be higher. Colin Weber, for me, you put him on yours. I wanted to put him on mine, but he was kind of right on the outside. Max Bredesen was another blocking guy. You put him on yours, but
Yeah.
again, I just had a hard time with some of the blocking guys. Anybody else you want to point out?
Well, I was gonna say you put Quentin Moore, and I put Decker DeGraff, and I think it's just probably a matter of does DeGraff can he be can he beat out Quentin Moore
Mm-hmm.
at Washington? So I think that's a question. But I don't honestly. I think I have questions about guys like Tanner Arkin, Kenny Fletcher. Those guys are coming back to teams, but are I think are probably going to get their roles usurped a little bit. Um, I am curious about Christian Moore at Purdue and George Buren at Purdue. I'm curious about Alex Lines at Northwestern. But honestly, I feel like a lot of what I'm thinking is I just don't have a good sense of the last few slots of this listing because I
Yeah.
think tight end is a hard position to track.
Yeah. It is a hard position to track, especially with the blocking and stuff. And Brenton's bringing it up right now. Riley Nowatzki, for Indiana, he's kind of going to be like their second string, and that's the other thing too. Like you say, second string, he's going to be more the blocker in this offense than Holden Staes is. So for all we know, Nowatzki could be Nakowski. Sorry, I'm probably saying his name wrong. He could be an even more integral piece to this Indiana offense, but we just maybe don't see it because of the blocking. He did get a ton of snaps last year though at Wisconsin, and he's gotten over 100 snaps this past 3 years. He's going to be a fifth year senior. He's going to be a really good option for Indiana in the passing and the blocking game. His PFF grades weren't super high, but at the same time, like I also don't think blocking PFF grades are the best thing ever. I think they're something you can look at, but overall, like he's mostly used as a run blocker when he blocks, and he caught some balls last year, but it wasn't anything extravagant. Let me look up what his stats were exactly. Last year, he caught 11 balls for 74 yards, no touchdowns. Seven
Hmm.
catches for 57 yards and one touchdown 2 years ago. So, you know, if he can be a good hard nosed blocker, he'll be a good piece for him next year.
Yeah.
So, Jelani Thurman, somebody you referenced, definitely somebody that needs to be thought about. I do think Washington probably has a very underrated tight end duo in Ducker DeGraff and Quentin Moore. As long as Quentin Moore can stay healthy, Michigan is another good tight end duo, whether it's Klein and Hansen or Klein and Bredesen or Bredesen and Hansen, whatever it might be. But I think the best duo here is probably going to be Penn State. I'm not sure people would say that going into the season. I think going into the season, Oregon is probably the best duo between Sadiq and Jamari Jameson, but I would not be surprised at all to see Penn State be the best duo by the end of the year.
Yeah, and I think you could really see Luke Reynolds push to be a top three tight end in the league.
Yeah, I agree. He's just gonna have to come on as the season goes.
Yep.
Iowa, Addison Estrinja, he's gonna be him and what's his name? Ortworth at Iowa. They're going to be another good duo there. You're going to probably see a lot of two tight end sets with them. Dorian Fleming at Maryland doesn't really have anybody with him. Cole Rest does have Tanner Arkin with them. That could be a good combo there. We'll see. But overall, I think that pretty much covers the tight end duos. Ohio State, Max Klare, Will Kazmarek. Will Kazmarek's more the blocking guy, but you're not going to see very many two tight end sets with Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially with Hartline as the OC now. I think with Chip Kelly, I think you would have seen more. But
yeah, I think if you see two tight ends in the game for Ohio State, it's going to be like Max Klare in the slot and Will Kazmarek in line, or maybe like Jelani Thurman in line. Like the thing with Ohio State's tight end room is they have built it well. They have a very balanced guy in Jelani Thurman. They have a good receiving threat in Max Klare, a very good receiving threat in Max Klare, and then they have a good blocker who can also run some routes, but he is more of a blocker, Will Kazmarek.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
Kale X Rose says, I think every school uses 2 tight end stats. Yeah, I mean, pretty much every school does. Ohio State's probably the only one that doesn't really because they have all those good wide receivers. Um, Oregon does sometimes. Yeah, they had Kenyon Sadiq and Terrence Ferguson out there a good amount last year together. So, all right. Anything else to get to here at the tight end, Zach?
No, no, I think we've covered it.
Yeah. Philip says Rusk and Arkin a good duo, top 5 in the Big Ten. Could be for sure. Yeah, I mean, you look at the other duos there. There's definitely the
Yeah.
opportunity for them to be top 5. We'll see. David says would be interesting to see an updated list halfway
Yeah.
through this season. We should do that this season. We should have like an episode halfway through the year with like. We might not do like top 20 just because that would be really hard to do an
Maybe
episode with a
top
bunch of
5
top 20
of
lists.
each.
Yeah, but like a top 5, top 10 or
Yeah.
something like that.
I
That'd be
was
interesting.
I was thinking we should do a snake draft of our like top 22, like every position, or like top
Yeah.
with kicker and punter, and like build ultimate roster. Maybe get Jeff in on it as well,
Oh, we should just do a fantasy football league for the Big Ten.
or that we do that too.
Yeah, let us know in the chat if you would do a fantasy football league for the Big Ten. I think there is a website out there that does it. I'm not sure it's like not Yahoo or anything like that or like ESPN, but there's got to be a website out there that does it. So if you would be interested in being in like a 10, 12 league or something like that for just Big Ten fantasy football, let us know in the chat. If you're listening after the fact, put it in the comments section. If we get enough people that seem to be interested, then we'll do something like that this season. That would be really cool to do.
Yeah.
So Brenton and Kale already said they want in. So
Nice.
yeah, maybe we'll do that. We'll see. I'll see if I can set that up. That'd be really cool to do. So
Sweet.
all right, Zach, put in some good work tonight with the rankings and everything else. Was there anything else you wanted to get to before we get out of here?
No, just if you wanna check us out, I just was on at the OHIO podcast right before this, so make sure you check those guys out. I'm going to be on the Out of the Blue podcast tomorrow, talking about the Ohio State Michigan rivalry and the state of the rivalry. So I'm excited about that. But
is that live or is that just recorded?
I think it's just recorded. So just if you want to check out that episode, just look on Out of the Blue. Those guys are great Michigan guys. But I'll be back on Tuesday. No suspension on Tuesday.
Nice, no suspension. I just put the link for the OHIO podcast there in the chat. Zach, once the episode gets posted of the podcast that you're on with the Michigan guys, send that to me and I'll post that on the YouTube feed so people can go there and listen if they'd like. So. Yeah, so check out Zach's work. He's everywhere, doing everything. We appreciate it. Tuesday night, we're gonna have a lot of fun. Tuesday night, Juck is gonna come on and we're gonna do a recruiting recap of the month of June for the Big Ten. So we're not gonna be able to touch on every single recruit of every single team, but we're gonna kind of talk big picture stuff. Talk about what teams did the best, what teams really knocked it out of the park. Illinois would definitely be a team that gets talked about. They've had a good June. Michigan State did. UCLA, I believe what I saw UCLA did. So there'll be teams like that we talk about that maybe don't normally get the recruiting coverage, but we'll talk about them. I know Jack's going to be working on that and doing a good job. So, yeah, I think that's about all we got. So thanks for being here, everybody. Zach, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. And we will see you on Tuesday night. Me and Juck first part of that episode, and then Zach will come on the second half, and we'll be good there. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.